Well, hello and welcome to Blind and Knitting. This is episode 10. Now, if you watched my last episode, you'd know that that was episode 10, but I was going back through my episodes to find what I'd talked about last time, and there was no episode 9. I think that was the one, and I don't know if you remember, but I started a podcast and then I stopped it because someone had turned up, that's right, and so I stopped it, but I lost it. And I think that was the one that I didn't put on. So what was episode 9 is now, what I wrote as episode 10 is now episode 9, and this is episode 10. So welcome to Blind and Knitting with Donna. So you can check me out on Instagram on blind_and_knitting. You can check me out on Google, and subscribe down below would be great, because then you can get notifications on when I'm doing my podcasts. And I have to apologise, this one's a wee bit late. I did promise myself I'd try and do them fortnightly, but there's been a lot happened over the last month, and so this is a couple of weeks late. So if you do follow them and get the notifications, I do apologise if you're thinking, she hasn't had one for a while. So I'm still here. So what's been happening? Well, gosh, I'll fill you in. So last podcast was the day before my daughter's wedding. And so we had my daughter's wedding the next day, which was just beautiful. So it's a month ago now. Gosh, it was a beautiful day. It was out in the bush. It was full of children and barbecues and big games like mega-sized Jenga and things like that for the kids. It was a lunchtime wedding. That's exactly what they wanted. That's exactly what they're about. They're a camping family with lots of kids. So it was a very special day. Thankfully, I think there was about nearly 80 of us of the 100, and a few sort of ended up with the dreaded COVID, but everyone else was able to stay well for the wedding, including me, the celebrant. I mean, that's really important that the bridegroom and the celebrant are there. Kushra said to me, look, if everybody starts dropping like flies, we're having a wedding. Even if it's just you, me, the groom, and 2 witnesses, it's just going to happen regardless. But anyway, it did happen. It was a very special day. So that took up, and because I was sort of still recovering, I was only a few weeks in from surgery, major surgery, took up a bit of my energy and knitting time. So hence, that was probably a week. Then I started coming right after my major surgery, and sort of my fatigue levels were getting a bit better. And so we started socialising this summer, so we were having barbecues and etc. and sort of, which has been lovely. It's been really nice to catch up with friends over that period. But of course, what happened? We went to one, how long ago? 2 weeks ago, and the hosts messaged us the next day and said, oh my gosh, sorry guys, but we're COVID positive. We tested this morning. So that sort of started the ball rolling with us. It's a pandemic, it's a wave, and we kind of knew it was going to come into our region. We live quite rurally, so and we have been hiding quite a bit from it. So I started having symptoms for the week, but I kept having negative tests. I had 4 negative tests, but I did have symptoms, so I stayed home. I thought, no, they say if you've got symptoms, stay home. I had a really scratchy throat, a thumping headache, and swollen glands, but I kept having negative tests. My partner had a positive test, a faint positive, but he certainly was unwell, and my sister-in-law was unwell as well. So we all stayed home. And on this, what's today? So today is March the 24th, and it's a Thursday. So last Sunday, I thought, right, I'll do another test, and if I'm negative, because I was feeling a little better, I will go to work on Monday. Well, I did the test, and blow me down, it was a very strong, clear, positive. So, so I rang the doctor. Well, they ring you, actually. I have to say, I was really impressed with this. So when you get a positive test, you put it in your app as a positive test so that it can go towards the numbers, and they text you some information, etc. But the next day your doctor rings you. So poor doctors are always under pressure now, but it was really reassuring to have a doctor ring me, and so I said to him, look, I've been symptomatic a week with negative tests, and although I'm feeling better, I had a positive. And he said, well, I need to take that as day 0. So I have to 7 days isolate for 7 days. But I have actually been a little unwell, to be honest. Yesterday I was feeling pretty grotty, and I've got tissues here, so forgive me if I start blowing my nose a lot. Yesterday I could have packed them up with tissues all day and just left the tissues up there. It just would not stop running. So yeah, just feeling a bit grotty, just that sort of low level heavy cold sort of stuff. So I suppose I feel a bit brighter today, which is good. So and it's Thursday, so hopefully I'll be back on deck next week, and I'll have had my 3 vaccinations, my booster, and had COVID, so I should have full immunity. It's getting quite serious out there, and I want this podcast to be about stuff that's knitting. It's a knitting podcast, but it is getting serious out there, so God bless all these people out there that are really struggling in other parts of the world, such as Ukraine, which is just hideous, and I just feel for them. But so yeah, I feel for them. But this is my knitting podcast, so let's keep it as such. So that's what's been happening. I haven't got, so I'm just checking my notes because I hate missing things out. One of the things that I did, oh dear, this is the blind thing, I blew our gas hob up. So I thought I would have I made some spag bowl, and my partner doesn't like pasta, so he was having his on toast, and I was like, well, I'll cook myself some spaghetti pasta up because I love pasta. And I put the pot of water on the hob, turned the hob on, and then I knocked the handle and it tipped. It was a little pot, and you know how those gas hobs have gaps in between them. It fell down that gap, and everything went boom, the gas bottle died, lights started flickering, the fridge started making all sorts of noises. Oh God. Anyway, long story short, I have the electrician came the next day, took our hob away and said, well, you could claim insurance, but it'll probably cost you around $1,000 to get this fixed. Our excess is $1,000. So there we go. But because of COVID, we don't know when we're getting our hob fixed. So we're managing without a hob. Thankfully, our oven at the bottom is electric. We've got a barbecue outside and the microwave. But my challenge was, I was in the middle of making, I had soaked all my tomatoes in salt overnight to make relish the next day. You need a hob to make tomato relish. I had this humongous pot, one of those great big preserving pots full of tomatoes and onions ready to make relish, and no hob. And COVID. So it's not like we could whip into town to somebody. So we have friends down the road who we knew were COVID positive as well. And we said, can we come round and use your oven, your hob? So we snuck round there and cooked my relish on their hob. And of course, I couldn't get internet there. I forgot to take sugar, so we used their sugar. Stuart and I have spent the whole time in the house, so we were a bit crabby with each other. But anyway, we got it done. So, I ended up, this is one of my tomatoes, just had the bumperest crop. So, and really healthy. So I was chuffed with my tomatoes this year, with my new garden, my new veggie garden, tomato relish. But I also I had made before I blew my hob up, tomato pasta sauce. So I just threw, God knows what I threw in. I threw in dried herbs and fresh parsley and garlic and red wine, and I know I was doing, oh, I shouldn't be throwing that in there, I should be drinking it, but hey ho, put it in the pasta sauce. Oh my, so I didn't write it down, I just threw everything in, and it's probably the best pasta sauce I've ever made. So I won't be replicating that, but it's divine. So, but I've frozen that up into bits in the freezer so we can have it over winter, and we can just pull it out and make spag bowl or tomato soup, or throw it in a casserole or something. So I think I got 16 jars of relish. So we've been handing it out to people. Because I didn't have the recipe on me, and because I just threw everything in as I do, that's partly why we had a little with each other, Stuart and I, because Stuart likes to measure things, he likes things perfect, and I just throw everything in. It was a bit spicy and hot, but it's come up really nice. So happy with that. So although I haven't got any finished objects, I've got quite a bit to show you knitting wise, but one of the reasons why I haven't got any finished objects is because I've been making the most of what's been coming out of the garden, and I haven't actually been that well, to be honest. I thought with my major surgery, I thought, I'll be fine after 2 weeks, you know. No. I coped with Kush's wedding, although I was home by 7. It was a lunchtime wedding. You know, I felt really awful. I would have liked to have stayed longer, but the energy just, no, wasn't going to happen. And with recovering from that surgery and then COVID, it's just been a funny month. There we go. Yeah, so I've got lots to show you, because one of the advantages / disadvantages of being home all day is you spend a bit of money. I keep justifying it, saying, well, I'm not out, I'm not buying my lunch. Not that I do that often, I usually take lunch, but I do buy my lunch, say, once a week. I'm not buying any coffees. So I just justified, I'm not going out, I'm not, going to the movies, or I just wasn't spending any money. So I justified all my spending. So if you could see down by my feet, there is a wave of purchases, but really interesting stuff. And although I've got no finished objects, I've got quite a few things that are quite interesting to show you. So hold on in there. I'm going to have a drink of my coffee. Hopefully you've got a drink with you, and you're sitting there with your knitting, watching. And I don't know if you watched the last one, but Kushla can have a wedding now, because my eyebrows are actually more of a normal colour. I should actually text her and say, Kushla, you can get married now, because my eyebrows, if you watch the last one, you'll understand that. So watch the last one, you'll get it. But I've got my eyebrows are now normal. Oh, okay, that was a dig. Anyway, let's get on to some knitting, because this is blind and knitting. So first thing I am working on is, and I had just cast it on my last podcast, is one of Truly Myrtle's new ones. Now you can't buy this pattern. You have to become a member of her wardrobe toolbox. It's kind of like a masterclass thing, and then you get it with that. It will come out in the future, but to start with, it is part of her wardrobe toolbox, which I'm a member of. So it's called Seashar, and it is a Truly Myrtle one, and it is a scoop-necked raglan top down with a lace panel here, and it's an A-line. So that's what I'm making. I am making it in Happy Go Knitty, which I think I've shown you. Happy Go Knitty, stunning wool. It's a merino silk yak blend, so it's super soft. It's a 4-ply. It's called Southern Oceans of the South, or Southern Oceans. Oh gosh, sorry, Helene. Southern Ocean, I think. But it's just beautiful. It's a sort of a dark, I don't know how to describe it, greenish jade. It does, when you look at it, you think it's kind of like a dark when the sea is dark. So this is how far I've got. I'm a bit worried that the neck is quite scooped, although by the time you pick the stitches up, I have held it matched it to my 4-ply raindrops, which is quite a big neck, but it's not scooped, it's more of a boat line. This is a scoop, and they're the same size, so I figured, well, and then if it's a scoop and it's the same size, it should be right. But I figured if it is actually too big, what I could do, so you pick it up and then you do a little roll. You knit a few rows and do a roll. I think I haven't got that far, obviously, but what I could do if it is too big is pick it up and knit a rib, put a rib on it, but maybe add the little lace pattern into the rib somehow, because it's a pretty little lace pattern on it. So yeah, my learnings in that, well, and I showed in the last one, you started at the back and then you worked forward, and then once you'd done the back and the shoulders, you joined the two together, two in the round. So yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. I think it's going to be, it's just the most beautiful wool. I'm really loving the wool. I am struggling with my sight, so I don't knit it at night time, so because it's a dark colour, and I have to do it more by much more by feel, and because it's so fine, it's not a solid feel on my fingers, so I do have to do it when I've got good sight. So I've been doing this in the mornings when I get up, and the sun in the lounge is lovely. But I think it's going to be beautiful. The other thing I might change on it, not sure about the A-line. I am an hourglass shape, and I think an A-line looks quite good on a pear shape. So I might stick to straight down. Haven't really decided, but I think I will stick to straight down on this one, and it's a 3/4 sleeve, so that's good for me when I get so hot. But that is coming along quite nicely. So the wool, again, Happy Go Knitty, Māori, colour is Southern Ocean or Southern Oceans, and that is ticking along very nicely. Wee bit of a slow knit for what's 4-ply for a start, but as I say, I can only do it in the mornings because the night light, and it is, once we get past this sort of halfway of spring, we're in autumn now, so when we actually start getting quite dark at night time and the lights really make a difference, I'll be able to see. It sounds a bit weird, but we're in such a weird half light situation, and my sight is not good on half lights, so middle of winter that will help. So that's my first, although no FOs, that's my first whip, which is coming along nicely. I'm now on to just knitting straight down in the sleeves. My second whip is, and this is another one where big learnings. This is also can't be bought. It's a truly myrtle again, and it's called Ember, and it's a steeked cardigan with colorway. This is again Wardrobe Toolbox, so you have to be a member of Wardrobe Toolbox to get this pattern, or wait for it to come out to public, which it will do. I think Libby likes to put them on Wardrobe Toolbox first, and then, but Wardrobe Toolbox is amazing. So I'm not sponsored by anybody, by the way. This is purely just, I don't make money out of this. It's not sponsored. I just tell you what I'm enjoying, and I am really enjoying Wardrobe Toolbox. But I do see that Outlaw Yarn has an Outlaw online now as well. So if you want to try that one, you can as well. I'm sure it'll be just as good. So you can't buy this, but anyway, it's a colourway. Now, I've never done a colour work, so that was new learning for me, and I've finished the colour work. I'm super happy with it. A bit worried it might be a bit hot for me because my age, but there's my colour work. I have made a big boo-boo. The pattern is not identical, so it's now officially my pattern, not Libby's, because I did make a big boo-boo, and it wasn't till I got so far down that I thought, that doesn't look right. But if you didn't know the pattern, you are not going to know. But never done colour work, so super happy with that. I don't know why people always show you this, but I'm going to show you because that's what people show, is the, what are they called at the back? forgotten what they're called, but anyway, they are. I am up to, I've joined, so I am now in the knitting in the round all the way down for the bottom. This is quite an easy knit for me because it's DK and it's a good colour, so I do this at night. I don't even have to think about it really, I can just go, so I can rattle it off. That's where I'm up to. And then the sleeves, and then it's a steeking, so it's a new learning, so never done steeking, so yeah, so that will be steeked into a cardigan but it's knit in the round. Another learning for me was short rows. I have done short rows before on my another Libby Johnson. I definitely am not sponsored by her, but I do like her patterns. Oatmeal, and it had short rows in the set-in sleeve, and I'd never done that before, and they were wrap and turns. So, but I'm listening to a few podcasts and people are saying that they prefer the German short row, so I thought, well, I'll Google that because this had wrap and turns. Or did it have German short row? Anyway, Google, God bless Google, learned how to do them, and so so easy, but yeah, they look, and I do prefer them to a wrap and turn. They're a lot less visible. So short rows, tick, colour work, tick, and then the next one will be steeking, tick. So quite looking forward to wearing that. I think it'll look great with a white t-shirt and a pair of jeans, or you know, maybe a skirt for work. But that is ticking along quite nicely. The wool is Skeins vintage, and this is the third jersey I've knit in this, fourth jersey I've knit in this in Skeins wool. This is a DK, and the colour is, will I be able to read that? Can't even tell whether it's upside down or not, so hey, it's not looking good for you. It is called Duck Egg, which it very much is. It's very much a duck egg, and it's just a lovely colour. And the colour work I have done in the chili, which is the red. I'll get them out. Chili and oatmeal and navy. That's not navy, that's green. So this is where the light is different for me. There is the navy. In the navy. There it is. Didn't you love that? Coming up and down. In the navy. Right, so the colours are navy. These are all Skeins vintage. Navy, oatmeal, and chili are the three colours, and of course my duck egg. And I think they look great together. Quite bright. But that's okay for a cardigan, I think. You know, you can tone it down, as I say, with a white t-shirt or navy t-shirt maybe. Yeah, so they are bright colours, but I really wanted to be able to see the colour work clearly to learn it. So, and all of my reading up on colourworks, they're saying you need a toothy wool, and this isn't toothy, but this is definitely, excuse me, 100% wool, and it is woolly, but not particularly toothy. So I think it'll block nicely together. I sound like such a professional. Oh, good luck! Don't learn from me. So that's my two whips that I've been predominantly working on. So my Seisha and my Embers. And I'm sorry you can't get those patterns unless you go into Wardrobe Toolbox, but I am really enjoying them, and I will, you know, tell you my learnings as we go, especially when I get to the steeking. That will be really interesting. Yeah, I said to, so I'm a member of a knitting group, and I did say to them, I can understand why people that learn to knit in the round, want to steek, because they haven't really learnt to purl, and because I was wondering, well, why steek? Why not just knit a cardigan? Because I learnt doing purls and knits. Purls no harder than knit for me. It's the same. But when I keep looking at podcasts and little lessons, excuse me, this is my nose, COVID nose, everyone was saying, oh, because I can't purl, or because I don't like purl, or I don't do purl well, or my tension's different on purl than it is on knit. So, that makes sense. It makes sense to me why they stick now. So, and if you don't know what sticking is, it's you knit in the round, and then you prepare two sides of the middle of it, and then you cut it right up. So you cut up where your band is going to be. So you knit in the round, prepare the two edges for where your band is going to be, your button band, and then you cut it up. That's steeking. So I'll keep you informed on how I go with that. I'm enjoying both those knits, two quite different knits, and with my site I can't do them. So it's quite nice to have two that are different. But two, as you know, I'm not monogamous, and so just two on the go. What I did do wrong, and it's funny because when I checked on my last podcast, I had I think it was 4 or 5 finished objects. Bam. And that was because I was home with my surgery. With this one, I only had the 2 objects, but I started them at the same time. So I had the tricky bits and the learny bits all at the same time. So a lot of head stuff. So I can see why I should have also had something really easy. I did do the chain in preparation for another dishcloth, but I just keep looking at it and going, no, because I'm enjoying this learning. So but normally I try and have one tricky one that I'm at the stage where I'm just knitting, and another one sort of easy something. That's kind of how I go, but I did have the 2 tricky ones going at the same time. So that's been interesting, but because I've had the time, as I say, I'm hoping my office is still where it should be at work, because I said to my daughter who works for me, I had 3 weeks off over Christmas as just normal holidays, which I always do, in January. And then in February I had my surgery, which was 7 weeks. Then I've had 2 COVID scares where I've had to isolate, and now I've got COVID and I've had 2 weeks from that. So I have hardly been at work this year at all. I've worked from home because I have been well enough to do that, and my job does. But there has been times when I've stopped work this last week and this week. I just haven't had the headspace. And I don't know if any of others of you that have had COVID and also recovering from major surgery, fuzzy head. I mean, yeah. So it's been good, probably quite good that I'm not been at work. So what's next? Let me check my list, because I could just rattle on. I didn't show you. This is part of my veggie garden thing again. Stuart and I, when we built this place, we decided to have a little orchard. We both are big fruit and veggie eaters. So we've been here 8 years, and Stuart has spent a lot of time espaliering the fruit and getting them ready. So we haven't had some great produce, but he's been really working on the preparation. Well, this year has really paid off. I'm allergic to apples, so I wanted a nashi. Look at my nashi pears. They were huge. Some of them were just monsters. That was a meal. This one's not quite one of the bigger ones. I've eaten the bigger ones, but I had to cut them in 4 and eat them in 2 halves of the day because they were monsters. So we've had, and just hardly, well, there's a little blemish there, but hardly a blemish on them. Beautiful nashis. And the other one that we've really just beautiful, black boy peach. Oh, they're so yummy. So I just wanted to brag a little bit about those. We've been really lucky with our veggie gardens this year, and we're starting to gain, we're really starting to benefit from, and the grapes, our grapes are flourishing, and my veggie garden is just flourishing. I'll have beans for Africa. Next podcast I'll be saying I've been freezing beans because I love beans. So I've planted a lot of bean plants. So they haven't quite fruited yet, but when they do, I will be freezing beans. So I just wanted to skite off my nashis. Really happy with those. So although we've been unwell, we've had just a barrage of fresh fruit and veg, which has been absolutely lovely. Lovely, lovely. So that's, where am I at now? I've done page 1, finished. Now, I was watching a podcast the other day, and she's a Kiwi, so Lisa, and she has Unwind and Knit with me, and she was talking about an app that she uses called Knit Companion. And I thought, oh, what a great idea. It's not, I'm not going to be able to give it justice to, but you can download it and have a look yourself. It's free, although you can do a paid one and get extras, but the free one is easy. And so it is called Knit Companion, and what it does is you download your pattern onto it and you can expand it without it blowing up, but you can also have highlighted the line you're on, or actually right up to where you're at. If it's got graphs, you can hide. It's so fantastic for every knitter, but particularly for sight and vision. So vision, for me, for people vision impaired. So I've got it on my tablet, which I'm filming on, so I can't show you. So yeah, you download your recipe. Well, they're calling them recipes now, aren't they? I don't know why, but your recipe or your pattern. And when you can do, you've got counters, you can do, row counts. It just it was really an awesome app. And when I hear of apps, I always try them, and you can just delete them if you don't like them, but I will definitely be using this app. So thanks, Lisa. She also recommended a person, a YouTube lesson by someone called Perfect Twists, Pink something. I'm sorry, I've forgotten, but I'll put it down in the link. But yeah, it was, if you just Googled Knit Companion lesson, you can find out exactly what it does. Easy peasy. So I do highly recommend that app. Yeah, I will absolutely be using that a lot, I should imagine. But the other thing I've got, so my sight has deteriorated a bit, and my sight is a degenerative progressive disease, so it is going to deteriorate, unfortunately. But life, this is what I've been dealt with. It's the wheelbarrow that I'm pushing, and I have to get on with it. So it had deteriorated a bit, and I was struggling with things, cup of coffee, struggling with things at work, such as reading documents, reading my knitting patterns, anything that was on the printed page. I just was struggling reading them. I also have at work a monster screen and a program which brings it, called Zoom Tech, which brings it all up big, but I was